Don't listen to people who say that.
Is whatever the sort of admissions tutors that you speak to say, there are differences.
Don't trust that. For people applying this year, because I don't really know how much you'll be able to go visit, I would say two quite big things which you can look at online, which I think do reflect quite a lot on the colleges, is the size of the college and like where the accommodation is. They say on the website, the smallest college in Cambridge is called Peterhouse, and they take about 45 undergrads a year. And then Jesus takes about 150, and the biggest is John's, which takes about 250. And that does give quite a concrete sense of what the colleges are like, because you will probably know if you want to be somewhere smaller or want to be somewhere bigger. The other thing is accommodation. Cambridge is quite small, but it is surprising how far out you can get stuck. So Jesus provides on-site accommodation for all 3 years, which is quite big. So if you're kind of stressing, that might be like a good concrete thing to look into. Another thing I just want to say quickly about Cambridge is there are quite strong stereotypes about the colleges, and don't trust that. So if you go on like the tab articles, which I did quite a lot, they will give certain stereotypes like, oh, this college is really posh, this college is really left-wing. And you might think, like, say you are really left-wing, you want to kind of set your heart on that. Like, all colleges have all types of people, and the stereotypes don't really mean much.
But colleges have very different, I don't want to say vibes, but they have different environments. And so some colleges are more like traditional Oxford, and then some colleges are a lot more, I don't know, revolutionary maybe. I think my college would be one of those, LMH as well. It was the first college to let women into Oxford.
Focus more on what would be the right college for you personally, and they will know that as well, and they will want to see that you will fit in at their community. See if they have social media accounts and try and follow on there, because that might give you a better idea of what the community's like. And they often do like takeovers, Q&As, a good chance to kind of give you a better feel, and you might even be able to reach out and ask some questions to a student at that college.
I definitely agree with Tom there. After I got my offer, I then joined the Murray Edwards social media and Instagram, and honestly the amount of information that you can find out from social media is just fantastic. Just start following a few, and honestly you get so much of a good feeling and such a good vibe just from the pages themselves.
Go on college websites and Google sort of what they value. Maybe if you can talk to students, that might be really helpful, because they are usually going to give you an honest opinion.
Think about what you want from a college. Like if you want a gym, or if you want it to be close to, I don't know, to the rowing facilities, or if you want an ensuite in your first year, just think about them. I kind of made a list of colleges I'd either visited or like kind of heard of. Kind of had a top 3. Worcester was my number 1, to be fair. But I kind of spoken to someone who was at Oxford, and they were like, don't apply there, they won't accept you. And I naively just said, oh, okay. Don't listen to people who say that, just apply anyway. Because I kind of realised if they want me, they'll want me. It doesn't really matter. I ended up choosing Pembroke, just because also it was the first college I'd ever visited. I remember really, really liking it with one of my friends who I visited with. So close to the city centre, and it just kind of ticks everything that I'd actually want.
Personally, for me, I chose St Hilda's College, because I really didn't want sort of like an intimidating environment with lots of, I don't know, 16th century buildings and, like lots of, the sort of dreamy spires of Oxford. I didn't want that. I really wanted a more modern college. And I also was really interested in the history of St Hilda's, because it was a previously all-female college until about 20 years ago. That was like really important to me, to have like a feminist college. And also, just as an aside, like I had done just a bit of Googling on who the history department were essentially, and it was just quite interesting because I had read one of the tutor's books, and so I was kind of inclined to go that way, because I know that the department was focused on social history, and that's what I was interested in. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that based on tutors. It was just something that was an added factor.
I actually didn't visit my college on the open day. I only saw about a couple of like the main big ones. So for me, it was sort of all just looking at like the things online. I looked at location mainly. I knew that I really wanted to be central to Cambridge, and I actually don't have a bike, so I didn't want to have to walk really far like each way to get to lectures. That was a main sort of consideration for me. And then I also looked at the size of the college. So Sydney's pretty small. It's probably about a year group of maybe just over 100. So for me, coming from school where like you probably, I guess, have around 100 in a year, it didn't seem as scary to sort of go into an environment where it wasn't going to be like, you know, like you lost in like a sea of people.
I decided to apply to Christchurch in the end, partly because I'd visited it on an open day and really liked how the place looked. Like the architecture's really nice, and they've also got like access to the Christchurch meadows. But the main reason was because I read on the Oxford website about how generous Christchurch financial support is, and also their guarantee of accommodation for like all the years of your degree usually. So I thought that'd be quite convenient because doing medicine now, I'm at Oxford for like 6 years. So I thought it would be nice to have like the option of, you know, living in college for that whole time if I wanted to. I know a lot of older medics, like in 4th, 5th and 6th years, do like live outside of college, and that is an option. But I thought I'd probably, it just takes the hassle out of like, you know, being forced to find accommodation later on. So a combination of like the financial support, the bursaries provided by Christchurch, and also their like guarantee of accommodation, those were like the main deciding factors for me.
So I chose Jesus because a friend went round, or like 2 or 3 who had gone on open days. They were like, oh yeah, we think you'd like it, which I think was mainly because the sports pitches are on site, and that was the main thing for me. And it was, I went round and it was, you know, it was like really pretty, and I didn't really put much thought into it, I would say.
You even don't want to pick any, you can make an open application where you're randomly assigned a college instead of picking one on your UCAS application, which some people do vouch for if they really just want like the decision taking out of their hands, because it's could be quite a stressful one.
For an open application, because I've been on some of these things before, people have said, oh, it looks like you're not interested. I know for Cambridge, when you're applying to a college, they can't tell if you've handed in an open application. So if you're really like, if you just don't even want to get involved in choosing a college, I would recommend having a look, but you don't actually have to, and you won't be disadvantaged if you do choose to put in an open application.
Okay, so I did an open application. I didn't go for any college because I just found that way too overwhelming when you're trying to choose a university and then you get to Oxford, Cambridge, like, okay, and then choose from all these different colleges. I ended up at St Edmund Hall. I really, really love St Edmund Hall. It's a great college. Don't overthink the college thing too much would be my advice. I think most people do have a good time at their college. Doing an open application was really fun, and it did take away a bit of the stress, and it's just, you sort of end up where you end up, and I really enjoyed it. There's not often people who are like extremely disappointed. There isn't like a hidden bad Oxford College, a hidden good Oxford College. Like,
yeah, honestly, I just say like, just sort of pick any really.